This is Beru, and this is part 4 of my user interface project, and it is going to deal with boss mods. There are several different types of boss mods to use, and a lot of times the choice on which of the ones that you use will be either personal preference or what your guild requires. I am a Deadly Boss Mods user. I've been using DBM since I think vanilla. My guild has always used DBM. I've tried a couple of the other boss mods, never really fell in love with them, and always found myself going back to DBM. So I've used DBM. I'm happy with DBM. If you're not happy with DBM or prefer something else, that's okay. I'm not going to talk too much about DBM specifics, so everything in this should still be pertinent for you. The first thing that should be noted in my Deadly Boss Mods is that I reskin it to make it pretty and how I like to look at it. The reskin that I used to be part of a UI package called Damia UI, and I don't know if it's defunct now or not. However, I was able to get the reskin files from Jaded Alt when I noticed she was still using the particular reskins. And I'm happy to share the reskin with you if you'd like. Just email me and let me know, and I can send you the files and how to do the reskin. The only downside about the reskin is basically that every time you update Deadly Boss Mods, you have to reskin the files. But other than that, I mean, it only takes a minute to do. I really like the way that this particular reskin looks as opposed to any of the options in Deadly Boss Mods. So for me, it's worth the hassle. For you, it may not be. I think really what I want to stress in this particular segment on boss mods is positioning of your boss mod. I know boss mods are almost required now to raid. Some people may say they're not, but anybody that's into any level of raiding progression is going to need to have a boss mod to function as effectively as their peers do. I think where you position the boss mod on your screen is extremely important because they provide a wealth of information to you. There are several things your boss mod will have. It will have timers of things that are coming up sometime in the near future, an enrage timer, an ability that's on a 1-minute cooldown or anything like that. It'll have timers for things that are happening now or, within the next 10 or 15 seconds that you need to be aware of that are pending, immediate things that are important. And then it's going to have sort of a set of warnings for you that are going to sort of pop up and will, put a big flash in your face, generally accompanied by a large noise that say, hey dummy, you need to move, or hey there, you need to, watch out for this or watch out for that. And so those are things I want to talk about. And something else that's been included recently with a lot of boss mods are rangefinders, and I think that those are really useful as well, and I think it's important to have those positioned in a good spot in your UI also. The first thing I want to point out is in my UI where I have sort of upcoming, pending, in the future things, and I put them on the very far right side of my screen. I don't want them obstructing my immediate view. I don't want them, blocking anything that's on the ground or on the screen. So I put them off to the right so that I can take a quick look over there and see, oh, okay, we are a minute off from the enrage timer, no big deal, but it's not something that is in my sort of immediate need to know zone taking up valuable space. So over on the right, I think is a great place for them. Some people like to put them top left. Some people like to put them bottom right, bottom left, whatever. I think it's important to show them, but I also think that it is important that they're enough out of the way that they're not a distraction to you, but still easily accessible to you as you may want to use them. The next thing that I have are my immediate need to knows, things that are happening within, say, the next 10 or 15 seconds or something like that. And those are right above my character frame. And when they transfer from the, this is coming sometime in the future over to this is coming very soon, they actually cross in front of, where my character model is right above grid so that there's a motion that I can see. It's right above my character frame, right there in sort of my immediate need to know zone. And so I have it immediately available to know, okay, the whole raid is going to take damage in 5 seconds, or the tank is going to get knocked out here in about 10 seconds. And I just think it's important to have the information available. For me, I like having the flow where it catches my eye when something goes from point A to point B, in the timer bar. And on two fronts, I track everything. And part of that is because I lead our raids. And so for me, I need to know every last bit of information. But if you're just healing and you don't need all of that, consider shutting some of the warnings that aren't pertinent to you off so that there's less clutter on your screen in dealing with them. Like if you don't need to know necessarily when the enrage timer is, maybe don't show the enrage timer. If you don't really care if you're going to beat your fastest kill, turn it off so it doesn't track it. If there's a certain mechanic that you don't need to worry about, such as something that needs to be interrupted and you don't have an interrupt ability, turn it off if you don't want to see it and don't need it cluttering your screen. It's always a viable option. I like personally to know when everything's going to happen or what's going on. It doesn't work well for everybody, and that's something you really will just need to customize for yourself and get set up how you'd like to have them set up. My sort of warnings that come in, I put towards the top of my screen. I use a lot of audio cues within Power Auras, and I also turn on my audio cues for Deadly Boss mods. I like to know when things are happening, but as a healer, it's easy to tunnel vision. It's exceptionally easy to miss things. So if you've got your screen flashing or lots of sounds going off to remind you that this is important, you need to move, or something important is coming up, I do think that that's a valuable tool to have. I put the warnings up on top. They're large, they're easy to see, and they will flash up for me. In fact, I have turned off anything else that will scroll in that general area so that all I have there are immediate things that either Deadly Boss mods or Blizzard's default game tell me in that area. So I know when there's something like Firestorm coming up and you need to get behind the meteor, or I know when Beth Zalak is angry and she's going to start spitting all over the raid, or I know when Rylith is going to stomp on his volcanoes. I just think that that is important information to have, but it's like the timers. It's something that, keep them there, make them obvious, but don't let them block your raid frames. Don't let them block your player frames. It does you no good to have a bunch of crud right at your player where it's going to cover up if you're standing in the bad or if there's something near you that you need to pay attention to. Have them where they are very obvious on your screen, but have them where they are consistent with being able to stay aware on your own of what's going on in the encounter as well. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the rangefinder. The new Deadly Boss mods actually has two rangefinders. I'm not sure what Bigwigs has or what any of the other boss mods have, but one of the things that Deadly Boss mods has added that I really like is sort of a range radar. So it's a circle that turns green if you are not near anybody in the preset range or the range that you set, and turns red if there's somebody else in that area. I think it's really fantastic. It shows a little dot on there for people who are in or out of range. And to me, it's much easier to look down, see red or green, and not see a list of names of people that might be in range. If it's red, I'm not where I need to be. If it's green, I'm golden and can move on. That being said, I also keep the name list over here on the right side of my screen, and I do that specifically so that I know who's in range of me. So for example, as we're working Heroic Rag right now in phase 1, I have to cover, a huge chunk of the raid and stay in range of the tank. So I need to know not only if somebody is 6 yards within where I'm standing and who that person is, so that if they're there, I can say in vent, hey, can you please move and give me a little leeway here because I've got so much area that I need to cover. It makes it just easier for me to be able to communicate. It's not really necessary. You may not like it. I tend to enjoy it most of all for the reason that I can actually know who's sort of invading the space I'm in, and if I need to move or if I need to ask them to move, and make it easy to communicate that to them. I think the last thing I probably want to say about boss mods is that, aside from where you want to position them, you need to find something that works well for you. Similar to with your raid frames, not everybody is going to have information come in and be able to analyze that information the same way. So just because it works a certain way for me doesn't mean it's going to be as effective for you. So definitely play around with it, find something that works for you. And I think the last thing I want to say is, don't find that you're so reliant on your sort of boss mods that you don't pay attention to what's going on around you in the fight. Definitely be aware of what's happening in the fight. Learn to navigate the fight in such a way that, even if you didn't have your boss mods, you would still, most likely effectively be able to handle the encounter without completely breaking down and falling apart. It's still important to have situational awareness on a personal level and not rely, on the computer to tell you what to do. So while I do strongly encourage the use of boss mods, I also encourage you to, use it in conjunction with, being an active player in the game and paying attention to everything that is going on around you. Again, if you'd like a copy of the Damia reskin, I'm happy to send it to you. Just shoot me an email and I can forward the file over to you with instructions on how to change the bars. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know.